I have here a set of leading questions for the panel. I sat down with the organizers from IFPRI and FAO, and we came up with these 4 questions. But I would like to, I will read them and then ask any and all, or all panelists to jump in and give us your opinions on that. But I would also like to keep an eye on the audience to see if there are any questions, not statements or reflections, but specific questions, probably to a specific panelist. And while you think about that, and we see that if technically we can do that, I'm going to read out these 4 leading questions and see who breaks the ice on them. One would be, what are the main challenges hindering smart policies from achieving on-the-ground impact? Another one would be, what changes are needed to ensure a better match between policy formulation and implementation? A third, how can ministries and stakeholders better coordinate implementation on the ground? And lastly, how can the global community help accelerate progress in local contexts? That one is quite difficult because we've been tackling with these questions at CFS for quite some time. So given these 4 questions, and again with an eye on the audience, perhaps I can provoke. I won't shine a light on anyone, I won't impose on anyone, but maybe I can ask the panelists. And I see Gerda raising her hand.
I'm very happy to answer all the questions, because what is needed is behavior change of all of us. Nobody can stay in his or her comfort zone, not at the global level, not at the national level, and we've heard it this afternoon. There's nobody who comes to our country and just bring the solution, because there is no one-size-fits-all. It's hard working, it's continued commitment, and people need to ask themselves, what can we bring to the table? Please stop with new global initiatives to be brought to the countries, because many people are already confused. Build upon what is there and be ready to answer to a question or to ask a question, what can you do and what can I do for you? So be ready to step out of your comfort zone, because we all need to learn to understand each other and focus on implementation. Until now, we talk too much, we implement too little.
Thank you, Gerda. Well-deserved applause. We'll listen from Madame Onclen, followed by Mr. Adum.
Madeleine, they manage the micro. Don't do it.
Okay, they manage. I wanted to reply about how to be more efficient at local level. For us, it is very important to rely on our colleagues in the delegations. And the colleagues in the delegations have a very strong message to make sure that we have a joint programming with the member states, so to improve the coherence between the policies and between the interventions, and also to make sure that we have the maximum of interaction with all the stakeholders, not only the government or the civil society, private sectors, but all the different institutions, international organizations, and to make sure that we can talk together and that we can analyze and understand the root causes to make sure that what we provide as a solution is the most effective. And if we don't have this coordination at the country level, and if we don't understand exactly what we are combating, we can't succeed. So this is why we invest a lot in partnership and in the knowledge of malnutrition to understand better what we are combating.
For that reason, I would like to add here, because I would like to applaud the initiative of the European Union. It would be great if the government would be in the situation room or the regional government in order to point out what is needed to bring an extra or a new piece of the puzzle together. No more standalone puzzle pieces, but bring it together and make sure that capacity is built in order to make it structural, sustainable and durable.
Thank you very much for that. I have just been told that we do not have roving microphones for the audience, so we regret that we won't have that kind of interaction. But there is still a lot to be said from the panel. I understand that Mr. Adum already indicated during his opening reflection that he had some notes that he would like to cover, and this is the time to do so. Please.
Thank you. The 4 questions that you posed are all intertwined. And to start with is that the policies have been formulated. Not most of them have been implemented. And so if we take the set of policies that have been formulated, not implemented yet, in the old framework, at least in our neck of the wood, it's now the security dimension has kicked in big time. So basically, what was then developed to implement ag and livestock and fishery and natural resource management is actually being confounded by the fact that security is kicking big time. And if you take a look at what is happening in Mali, in Burkina Faso, in Niger, in Chad, and what have you, and the Lake Chad area, the Bassin du Lac Chad, the authority, the Niger Basin Authority, and the Volta area, and so on. So we have these new challenges. So these new challenges actually bring to bear the need to absolutely and positively come, let's sit down. First of all, with respect to what needs to be done in terms of technical know-how, we do possess the knowledge. We do possess the tested technologies. What is left is scaling up and out. That we know what to do, how to do. What we don't know how to do is fight. We know how to fight among us. But with this new phenomenon, where in fact the international community is shining a lot of lights onto the region, what we need to do is say, okay, it's fine, we need to consider all options, but I think in our view, what is needed is we need to modernize the production sectors, agriculture, livestock, fishery, natural resource. That is where we're going to lessen, if you will, the frustration, provide food, nutrition, jobs, create wealth to lessen the likelihood that kids will go into the woods, the boonies, either shoot against us, drop dead in the sea, or go into the desert. So, which means mapping out what needs to be done, what is required with respect to identifying key strategic objectives, and we must link it to the SDG too. And so when we we identified the key strategic objective, we can just basically, back in 2012, the European Union, USAID, and the whole region got together and kicked off what we call the Global Alliance for Resilience. And we developed tools, we developed systems, we have all of that. The 17 countries of the region got together and actually put together their strategic plans. And of the 17, at least right now, 10 countries have all their books, what we call the book of options, of opportunities, of everything that needs to be done. So if you need to invest, you come back and you just take a look at the book, go to Burkina Faso, go to Togo, go to Niger, you pick up that and everything has been identified, ready to go. Now, what is left is governance must be kicked up big time. We must put a lot of focus on governance, and naturally the countries do not have necessarily all the resources. They have limited resources, and now with the security-related issues, the resources are becoming less and less available. So when the international community comes into our neck of the woods, we're going to sit down, we're going to prioritize, and we must be able to be held accountable and put a lot of pressure on policymakers. Last thing I want to say in this is that if we don't modernize the production sectors, with democracy galloping at an alarming rate, with kids graduating with diplomas without jobs, that area is going to burn. It's warming up now. It's warming up. It's probably going to burn if we don't do something. And which means we need champions. We can take a look at the likes of what Rwanda has been able to do. You go to Botswana, what people have been able to do. You go to Cape Verde and so on. We went through these different African countries, and as the First Lady of Eritrea said, right now everybody Ethiopian excited because Ahmed, the Prime Minister, is turning things upside down. You go to Rwanda, we went from the genocidal area now clean and up and running, and what have you, and the Prime Minister is here to attest to that. So basically, in summary, for us, for that region, having 27% of people still undernourished is unacceptable. We have the knowledge, we need to scale up and out, we need good governance, and we need people to come and sit down. We're going to map out and create synergies and leverage. Otherwise, if we go by piece and pieces, we're not going to be able to meet the challenge in 2030. It is a couple of days from now. Thank you very much.
I
Yes.
agree
Yes,
for almost 90% but you're missing one important issue that is not very expensive. We talk too much about budget, we talk too little about people. What I would like to hear, and I had expected it from you, but let me make the point, is the need to have socio-economic gender equality. It's an investment, and you can do it with a closed, with very little budget. You can just open up. And those who say, but this is a cultural issue in our country, start the dialogue, because each culture right now is different than 80 years ago. So if we don't open up this dialogue, if we don't open this, and we don't work on socio-economic gender equality, we will not get there, because girls and women are core to improve nutrition and to fight the end of hunger and malnutrition.
Thank you, Gerda. And I believe that gets us to the end of the second panel. I will very briefly summarize then what we have discussed here this afternoon. First of all, and I have it in my notes as 1A, is political commitment. Because we all know, and we're not discovering anything new, that without political commitment, very little can be done. And this should be delivery-oriented political commitment. Then we need investments, and I would add, or not add from my own, but also taking it from what was said, smart investments. That means not subsidies, of course. Then we need to establish connections, collaborative efforts, private, public, among government entities, with civil society, with, of course, the private sector, with an eye on good governance, always. Then we need to take stock of the knowledge that we already have, especially science-based knowledge, also lessons learned and good practices, leading to capacity building. This was mentioned time and again by all panelists. Capacity building at all levels, on the ground, local, with a focus, of course, on gender, and it was something that Gerda came back to time and again, and this is most important. With all these lessons learned and good practices for the capacity building, also with an eye on innovation. The concept of ownership must always be present, ownership that is supported all the way through, with follow-up and focus always on implementation. So I guess that that might cover, that would be a reasonable summation of the panel, if everyone is in agreement with that. So that would be a contribution to the global debate that we're having on all of these issues. And I will finish by calling attention on something that Madame Onclen mentioned, which is that the CFS, the Committee on World Food Security, is now embarked on voluntary guidelines on nutrition and food systems. And everything that has been said in this panel is an input towards that goal. We have a horizon for October 2020, and this is a call to action from me to you. Everyone is invited to participate through the established mechanisms of the civil society and the private sector, the international financial organizations, the UN. And if you have anything to say, and I believe that this room has a lot to say, please channel it through the CFS so that we have strong voluntary guidelines on nutrition and food systems to accelerate progress towards the end of hunger and malnutrition. So thank you very much, the panelists, and thanks to the audience. Thank you.